Attention, please be advised. The following episode contains spoilers. Don't say we didn't warn you.
Better than Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah.
It was not better than Amazing Spider-Man. You fucking take that back.
Nerd On.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need but deserve, where all levels of nerd are welcome, even those who came from space.
Even those in symbiotic relationship.
In
symbiotic relationship.
Those who say symbiote and symbiote.
Yeah.
All of you are
God.
welcome.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Every
James
single
Slade.
They
one.
fixed it, though.
Yeah,
They
ADR,
fixed the
baby.
shit out of that.
ADR. You know what this is. We're talking about Venom, Sony's foray into the Sony Marvel Cinematic Universe for Sony, Spider-Man Sony. So is what it should be called. And but first, we have to introduce our hosts of the evening with each of our symbiotes.
The hostess with the
I
mostest.
am Tom.
We are Corey.
I'm Caitlin.
Ollie. And I'm Josh. And this episode is brought to you in part by our patrons over at Patreon. Those guys are awesome, right?
Yes, they
Patrons
are.
are pretty awesome.
100%.
They're the bestest.
They're pretty cool. They're the bestest. They allow us to keep doing what we doing right now. Like this right now.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah. So
If they like to learn more and including all the exclusive content they can get, where can they go?
they can go to nerdon.tv and they can get all the cool stuff. Or they can go to patreon.com/nerdontv.
Yeah, if you want to become a patron, you get a bunch of bonus episodes every month, content, all that.
There's so
First
much
access to
extra
merch.
content.
You might be able to influence an episode.
Yeah.
That is
just
very
might.
true.
But with that, let's get into it. As you know, this is a spoiler-rich environment. Good
Super spoiler.
Super
rich.
spoiler.
Related spoilers.
But it's something that we can rate, and if we can rate, then there could be a grump, and with that, we can guess that grump.
No, see, Eminem would do the Guess That Grump for this
This
one.
is true. Will the real grump please stand up?
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
that doesn't belong here.
Orange, porridge.
But yeah, so we'll guess that grump. If you're new to the show, if it's something that we can rate, it's typically like a movie or a book or a TV show that's not ongoing, a body of work that's rated out of 1 out of 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. They are known as the grump of the week. So sometimes they're usually high. So if, for instance, Josh rates something at a 4.7 and Caitlin likes the movie and it's at a
I
5.
do, normally.
Josh at a really high score could still be the grump. So cast your votes in now. Text 888-555. But no, we all have our numbers in our minds, right?
Or our phones.
Or our phones.
Yep.
And since I always explain it, I always go first, I guess. My guess will be it's going to be Corey.
Ooh. It's between
Wow.
Ollie and Tom for me.
Everyone at home, Tom is like the C on the Scantron. If you don't
Well,
know the
'cause, like,
answer, just put C.
I'm aware that you like Venom.
We'll
And
talk
that could
about it.
swing
Which
it
has a greater potential
both
to
ways,
swing
right?
it more violently.
I'm gonna say Tom then,
More
because there's a wider spectrum for Tom right now. So I'm gonna go Tom.
Yeah.
I feel like my percentage is a lot higher.
I feel like knowing that Tom likes comic book stuff and knowing that I've heard other people be like, this is not my Venom. It makes me think Tom's probably going to hate it. So I'm going to say Tom.
Hashtag not my Venom. We'll see.
Hashtag not my Venom.
I mean, we could have had Topher Grace if you want to bring him back.
I don't.
Shout out.
Yeah, why not bring him back?
Jesus. Tom Hardy looks like he ate
Hashtag
Topher
fuck
Grace.
that Venom. That's not Venom, is what.
Can we
that
do
is.
an episode? Not my,
Hashtag not my Venom.
Josh.
I'm going to go with
He just did an interpretive dance of looking around the room and judging everyone.
I thought he was doing, he was
including
asking
himself
for rain.
at one point. He pointed to himself and went,
because Guess That Grump can't include yourself.
Nope.
No.
No.
So I'm going
It
to go
cannot,
with.
But nice try.
Pew!
I'm going to go with Corey.
Ooh.
Two for two.
2 for 2. Ollie, smocks and free.
I'm going to go Josh on this one.
Josh.
Ooh.
One Josh, 2
I got
on,
a feeling.
All right.
2 on Tom Powell.
It doesn't help that you went and saw the movie with me.
Yeah, we didn't.
So you're bringing baggage.
So we have the votes
true.
in. Everyone at home, stay tuned to the end. But before I mess this up, initial reactions first. What did we think of the movie?
Without getting into too many specifics.
Without the spoilery. Oh, I mean, I guess specifics. Yeah, you're right. 100%.
The first, I think I mentioned this in a text to Tom.
No, you didn't text me at all.
20, 15,
okay, then,
20 minutes.
I thought you just said you didn't sext me at all, and I was like,
No, he does that
I text him all the
quite
time.
frequently.
But the first, to me, the first like whatever it was, 15 to 20, pre 6 months later era, like really didn't move well for me and threw me off. But then once you get the like Tom Hardy is great, and once you get those interactions with Venom rolling, I kind of got absorbed into the film a little more. No pun intended.
You had some symbiosis.
Yeah.
Hatred.
I like the movie.
Okay.
I
'cause you
liked
like
it a
Tom
lot.
Hardy,
I love
so-
Tom Hardy.
no,
I
you
love
don't
him a
like
lot.
Tom Hardy. You like looking at Tom
I
Hardy.
love-
She is at
No,
the
she
end.
could still like Tom
I
Hardy
love,
either way.
I love
But it started
experiencing
there. It's the foundation.
Tom Hardy in acting.
And as Nolan would say, you could cover 70% of his face and still love Tom Hardy.
In fact, he does
Yeah.
cover 70% of his
And
face all the
factually.
time.
and so does George Miller.
It's true. It's true. I actually, even before I went to go see this, I was like, I just want to see Tom Hardy do things.
Yeah.
And this movie
Is Tom Hardy
is
doing
Tom Hardy
things?
doing a lot of things. So
Yeah.
I was really excited about all the things that he did.
I want to add to this thing because I just saw this interview the other day about that quote exactly. And going into Dunkirk, he approached Tom Hardy and said, because you do a lot with your eyes, what do you think you can do with just your left eye? Because the camera's like off center a little bit. And Christopher Nolan was like, as it turns out, quite a bit.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, it was everything that I hoped it would be going into it.
Josh.
So that was my initial reaction.
So I saw this movie twice,
Mhm.
and
Proud father.
I did it.
They grow up so
I
fast.
I did it because I didn't understand my initial reaction.
Mhm.
Um,
But
Needed
then
a
you did.
clarification.
I needed clarification
It was like
because
a pinch
sweet baby
yourself.
Josh, his initial reaction was, it's all right.
I think that's a first.
Yeah.
No, Stranger Things.
No.
I will say that as a whole, it was a popcorn movie. It was like, oh, cool, fun stuff. There's this that's going on. I don't want to give too many spoilers of later stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was as a whole, it was, I enjoyed some of the stuff. There are some other stuff that I was like, unfortunately, it just,
Missed the mark.
for me, it missed the mark.
Yeah. That's fair.
So yeah, moving along.
Shmali,
Yeah. I went into this with like very low expectations. And tried.
Let me go pick up those expectations.
Yeah,
on the ground.
there's a long trail of them. But going into this, as soon as it started, I was like, you know what? Let me just look at this movie in a bubble and try to see if I can
Why don't you try to like it?
objectively. And I was pleasantly surprised. I actually really enjoyed most of it. And there's a lot of really good, really, I think, huge successes, I think, with it. There's always going to be little things that, whether it's filmmaking or unfortunately film politics, that are going to get in the way, that unfortunately will and do influence the scoring and all that stuff. But I was pleasantly surprised.
Scoring, do you mean music or do you mean like the?
Oh, no, our rating.
Okay, got
Whatnot.
it.
His
Got
rating.
it.
So
Tom.
Venom is probably one of my top favorite Marvel characters. Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel character.
Mhm.
And so Venom being first a villain, then an anti-hero, and plus he's like a monstrous
Lethal Protector, right? Was the story
one of his characters, one of his storylines. Yeah. I mean, I really started liking him a lot more as Agent Venom, where he's
Yeah.
on Flash Thompson instead. But regardless, the Venom symbiote and the idea of a symbiote that's like a monster with teeth and like a protruding underbite thing. It's like it's a monster that is humanoid. I love the idea of Venom,
Because you're bringing that knowledge that I do not have.
which I will talk about in a little bit. Yes.
I was going to say is that Venom as I know him,
Mhm.
But again, I'm an uncultured swine.
So mostly like from the animated.
It's more just a general view of him that he's a villain and stuff like that. And only did I start when I started doing research, even before seeing this, of like,
What the fuck is a Venom?
But no, it's not even that. It's more of the concept of Venom, where one of the catchphrases I think it was like embrace your inner anti-hero or something like that.
That's part of the marketing team, yeah.
Yeah, and so I just never knew that of Venom, that he was essentially
I'll
a
talk
good
about
guy-ish.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that in our history and synopsisizing.
Cool.
And the lore. But
Cool.
with that, you know, I was really looking forward to this film. It's like pretty much closest thing to like me looking forward to like a character. You know, like Avengers, you get excited about like it's a whole
Like
culmination.
Spawn, I'm super excited about Spawn.
Things like that. And it's like this was as close as I can get to a Marvel character that's like Batman for me. Like I love Venom. And watching this film, you know, before it came out, there's a movie called Upgrade, which I was just showing Ollie the trailer for. It almost felt beat for beat, it could have been the same movie. But those are two highly very different movies based on filmmaking technique. And with that, watching this, I watched this up in Sacktown, hometown, over my birthday weekend. And I went to one of my favorite theaters I ever went to when I was a child, as a teenager. And there's those kids in the background who, you know, say every fucking little comic book thing they could read on Wikipedia and shit. Which I was like that. And I was like, they're ruining this fucking experience for me. But anyways, when the movie started, they shut the fuck up, which I was happy. But watching it, same thing with Corey. The first 30 minutes or 20 minutes of the film, every scene lasts less than 5 minutes. And that bugged the shit out of me. And it was like, okay. And so watching the film, I was just going to see how it plays out. And it's, I like it, but I definitely see that so much was pulled away from it. And I'm a fan.
You see all the potential that was there.
I'm a fan of long films. As I'm growing up and finding out of myself, I'm a fan of long films.
Let the story breathe.
And like, as I said, with trailers and stuff like that, I'm okay with seeing the whole thing, but how it happens, like I'm okay with seeing scenes in the trailer that are in the movie and then seeing it happen in the movie. It doesn't take it away from me, but I get upset when that's the only part of the scene that's in the trailer. I'm finding out that more about
it forces
myself.
it out of context, and you're like, but that's not.
Actually, I mean, like Corey, we've talked about this with Avengers: Infinity War when Thanos says, "I hope they remember you." In the trailer context, it sounds like he's an asshole. In the film, you hear the empathetic king.
Yeah.
In this film, the trailer's like
respect.
Yeah. In the trailers, it's like, well, that's just the scene. It's like a jump scare in a scary movie where it's not supposed to be the end of a scene. It's supposed to be the beginning of a sequence. Where like the trailer scenes show it's like, well, that's just that scene. And that's it. But then it doesn't show like the ensuing, like later on in the film, you're like, oh, well, I guess that's it. There's nothing more else. But that doesn't really affect too much of how I see this film. But yeah, that would be me. I wanted to see it. I enjoy what I liked, but I see all of the things that were pulled away to make this runtime last.
Well, just so people and the other thing that was pulled away too is that it was initially written as an R film, and they forced it PG-13 in the hopes that someday they could do a crossover with Marvel, with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So in order to keep that tone and allow like, hey kids, come see Venom, so that when that happens, you'll understand, they severely cut the script down to make it fit PG-13. I mean, you have a guy biting heads off and ripping
bodies apart.
Pile of heads.
Yeah.
Didn't they cut like 40 minutes?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
Which kills me. Anyways, so yeah, those are the initial reactions. So the next part is going to be the brief history, lore, and synopses. So just going to try to make this real quick. I know we got a whole movie to talk about. Venom, the symbiote, was introduced as a Spider-Man black suit during the Secret Wars event, which was a while ago. I couldn't tell you the name, issue, and all that stuff.
Like early 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Spider-Man had a black suit. And
that was the whole reason at first.
Yeah, he just had a black suit.
Let's give him a new suit.
And it was enhanced powers and yada, yada, yada. And then later on, they wanted to make it sentient and all that. Venom in itself and the character is created by Todd McFarlane, which Josh is fucking loving because he's finding out about Spawn, and you realize that Spawn just looks like
Todd's done a lot
like
of good
Venom
stuff.
and Doctor Strange's cape.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Venom is a symbiote from the planet Klyntar, and they're Klyntar symbiotes.
The race. Yeah.
There are multiple symbiotes, symbiote.
Of which Venom is the weakest.
Yeah. And So the thing is, in the animated series, you would know him as like main host of Eddie, or main person that takes over Eddie Brock. But Venom literally goes on to a lot of people. So Spider-Man, that's how he gets the spider symbol, and in the movie, Spider-Man's on it. That's why they couldn't have it, which I'm okay with. But there was later comics that showed why was Venom like crazy? Why did Venom create aggression in Spider-Man? And they later on retconned it where Venom was on Deadpool first. And that's what gave it a little bit of its insanity, and that's what made Peter Parker have more rage and all that stuff. He was like Peter Parker's strong. He could like arm wrestle and beat the shit out of like Captain America, and a lot like he could hold his own against the Hulk. With the Venom symbiote, he could go toe to toe with Hulk in terms of strength, and that's like the really cool thing about that. It enhances your abilities. And then when it later on got into Venom, that's when we started seeing more of the fleshing out of this character, and it does eat brains and all that stuff, but later on becomes an anti-hero, trying to protect his ex-wife. Not fiance, ex-wife in the comic books. But later on, with the sound, sonics, and all that shit, S.H.I.E.L.D. ends up holding on to the Venom symbiote. I'm skipping a lot of stuff. Other people have had the Venom symbiote, such as a Scorpion and stuff like that. But more importantly, now, recently, Agent Venom, which I was talking about, Flash Thompson, who is Peter Parker's bully in high school, ends up getting it after Flash Thompson goes to the war and then loses his legs and becomes a patriot. And he actually models the character very much after Captain America. And Spider-Man, it's like, I don't know, you're a Venom, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff. So a lot of development has happened with this character over the years, and it's become a fan favorite. It's in a lot of video games. It's in a lot of like TV shows. It's, they always do a Venomverse or something like that. And recently they've actually expanded the lore where there's a god of the symbiotes.
The creator.
Yeah. And it's trapped within like a planet of symbiotes that was created around it. But they're expanding that later on. And that later on actually connects to like Thor comic books with gods and everything like that. So it's kind of cool. But synopsis of the film. We open up in San Francisco, not New York, establishing very much that we're not part of the MCU yet. We have Eddie Brock, who is, a modern journalist, Lois Lane, talking about those stories that, we don't hear on the news, fighting for the little guy. Josh?
I was just going to say that the movie opens up with like a space crash.
Oh, yeah.
Establishing that something has come
Ah,
out.
with J. Jonah Jameson's son.
Yeah, with Jameson as the astronaut.
Slip that in.
We have multiple symbiotes in that spaceship. One of them got away, and we see it take over somebody, and they just walk. And then we jump to San Francisco, Eddie Brock, and his lovely fiance, Anne. And
He's a reporter.
He does online vlogs and stuff like that. His next assignment is to go work for to do a piece on the Life Foundation's CEO.
He looks like Vice News. Like that's what he looks like he's doing.
And they have this clip that shows all of the kind of stuff that he works on. He's radical. Yeah. And
Stick
later
to the man.
he has a vendetta against that company because he knows that they do seedy stuff. They're like kind of building it to be very much of a Lex Luthor of that universe. Gets his wife and himself fired 6 months later.
It's run by Carlton Drake, by the way.
Beyonce.
Carlton Drake, there you go.
Yeah. And he gets fired for asking questions he's not supposed to ask.
Yeah. And then 6 months later, he's in a downtrodden apartment and all that stuff. And you see him be kind to this homeless woman. And then later on, she goes missing. One of the head scientists of the Life Foundation reaches out to Eddie Brock saying, hey, they're doing human experiments.
Played by the adorable Jenny Slate.
Yeah,
I have a huge crush on her.
Yeah.
I have a huge crush on her.
And he says no, rejection of the adventure, hero's journey. But then later on tries to reconcile things with his fiance. Doesn't work out. He says, yes, I'm going to go do this on a famous bridge. And goes to try to infiltrate the Life Foundation.
On a famous bridge.
On a famous bridge.
The Golden Gate Bridge. That's what he needs to say. It's my hometown. Shout out.
You could see it on the poster.
Yep.
And then later on sees the homeless woman that's in the door, like that he sees, and she attacks him because what we're seeing before this is that Carlton, what's his name? Carlton Drake
Yeah.
has been experimenting with these symbiotes. We know that the symbiotes are trying to do like symbiosis. Symbiote. Host with human bodies so that they can later on explore this space without like suits.
Yeah, because he believes that Earth is being used up really quick and they need to find a new place to live.
But he's doing it through seedy means, getting the like people who are on drugs or homeless
To
and all that
sign
stuff, and
contracts.
just testing on them. He wants to do things without sanctions and all stuff. Jenny Slate's afraid of it, which leads Eddie Brock to see the woman who is homeless, who he has a relationship with, like a friendly relationship with. She attacks him. The symbiote goes into Eddie. He dodges all these security guards, goes home, and knocks himself out when he freaks out and sees the Venom symbiote like kind of emerge.
It says Eddie.
He has insatiable
Has a
hunger.
great scream, by the way. Great scream.
He has an insatiable hunger. Jenny Slate is stuck at the Life Foundation because she can't technically leave because a breach has happened. Sooner or later, she gets found out, but then at that time, she rats out Eddie, and then the guards come and opening the first time we see the symbiote in action. Fight scene ensues. Long driving fight scene happens where you see like the tendrils come out and like eating of someone's head and stuff like that. Long crazy car scene. Then we stop to find out that Jenny Slate gets killed because
She wasn't a perfect host.
she wasn't a perfect host. But then it's kind of like at this point the symbiotes are used almost as like a plot device. It's like you will die by symbiote, kind of
Yeah.
because of
Mhm.
failed symbiosis.
But then they accidentally let the symbiote die as well.
Yes. Throughout this entire time, we're seeing multiple people getting possessed by the one symbiote that went missing, from like an Asian woman to like an old Asian woman to a little girl in an airport, finally arriving in San Francisco. Eddie Brock actually starts talking to Venom. They just say, "My name is Venom, and this is what we do," and yada yada.
You're a loser already.
Yes. Anne, his ex-fiance, who has his boyfriend's like, "We got to take you to the hospital. You're sick and you have a parasite." We have the MRI sequence from the trailers, and he leaves and gets out of there because he's freaking out. But then they kind of start building a bond. You start figuring out like what we're gonna do and all that stuff. This little girl's getting closer and closer to the Life Foundation. Skipping forward, we get to this point where Carlton Drake is now possessed by that symbiote. Carlton Drake, who's the main antagonist, is taken over by Riot. And Riot is the leader of the pack of the symbiotes that was taken. And Venom, who doesn't really care for the planet, starts realizing like, oh, I should start caring and stuff like that. Through an intervention from ex-fiance, Venom and Eddie Brock get split up. Eddie Brock gets taken. Anne gets the symbiote, becomes She-Venom. That's the thing. They
a
meet up in
great
the
thing.
woods. They make out.
A great
And
thing.
then Eddie realizes he has to take the symbiote, and they make up because like, you're killing me, I was dying. And it's like, well, you changed my mind. And then so they have this long Incredible Hulk Abomination fight sequence to this rocket because what Carlton Drake wants to do, aka Riot, they're working together. They have good symbiosis. They want to travel the space to get more symbiotes and take over the planet. And you see that Carlton Drake's like sorry that the other symbiotes died. They fight, and it's presumed that Venom is dead. But at the very end, you see Eddie Brock and Anne are trying to work things out, and Venom is still there, and
Like a turd.
he is about to make someone into a turd
In the wind.
in the wind.
In the wind.
I got a
And
parasite.
Then
Mid credit scene.
mid-credit scene. What the fuck is the mid-credit scene? What's the end?
Carnage.
Carnage.
What's the end scene? Is there no end?
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse.
Into the
Spider-Verse was the trailer.
Which
So, yeah.
looks phenomenal.
It does
Yeah.
look
Yeah, it looks
amazing.
really good.
So the mid-credit scene shows Woody Harrelson in Ronald McDonald's hair. And,
I hate the hair.
and it's Cletus Cassidy who becomes Carnage, which is
A
the
clown.
offspring of Venom.
Oh, yeah, that one.
O'Haley.
And there we go. I like how he made fun of the fucking Silence of the Lambs thing, but whatever.
I hated the ham-fisted line.
Yeah, we'll talk
There'll
about it.
be carnage.
That was
And then
What?
post-credit scene is Into the Spider-Verse, which pretty much tells you exactly how the movie's going to play out, which is really cool because the trailers don't do that at all.
It looks great.
And end credits, and then the people come in and clean the floors. The film is directed by Ruben Fleischer.
Wow, what was
Fleischer.
that?
I can't pronounce this. Director for Zombieland. Fleischer.
Fleischer?
Yeah.
Fleischer or Fleischer?
I would assume it's Fleischer.
Let's say Fleischer
I'll look it up.
because the E is.
You can look it up.
Thanks, Corey.
I mean, he directed Zombieland and Gangster Squad, produced by Avi Arad, who did all the Spider-Man TV show, animated series, which was my childhood. All the Spider-Man movies. So Toby to Andrew Garfield to Tom Holland. Iron Man, pre Avengers, so Phase 1. Ghost in the Shell, which is also a fan favorite. Wolverine Origins, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Thor and Incredible Hulk. And Matt Tolmach, who did Future Man, Amazing Spider-Man. There's a lot of producers on here, and a lot of them had connections with either Jumanji 2, Welcome to the Jungle, or Amazing Spider-Man. Amy Pascal, specifically, who was a chairman for Sony for 9 years, did the Ghostbusters Answer the Call. So the reason why I bring up these producers, you can kind of tell what kind of feel of the film you're going to get with the producers. You're
Fleischer rhymes with, it says right here, Fleisch rhymes with dice.
Okay. And also
Fleischer.
a big thing was The Post, which was an Academy nominated film that Tom Hanks was in. Screenplay was Jeff Pinker, Dark Tower, Amazing Spider-Man, Fringe, Alias, and Ally McBeal. Scott Rosenberg, Jumanji, that's Welcome to the Jungle, and Kangaroo Jack, and Con Air.
Yes.
Are we starting to see where the writing went to this? Okay.
Mhm.
Kelly Marcel, who went from actor to writer, did Saving Mr. Banks, which was about Walt Disney. 50 Shades of Grey was her big break. The film released in October 5th, 2018, with $100 million budget and grossed $201 million worldwide. Just
Broke some records.
Broke some October records. It sits nicely at a Rotten Tomato score of 33, but also nicely
31 now.
31, but
Wow,
also at an
really?
88 for audience score. So I'll say this without being biased or anything. This just completely shows that still critics and audience alike are all split.
I was seeing a breakdown of Venom because a lot of people walked out of it. I mean, a lot of people. Some people walked out of it just going, okay, there was some potential there. And having a mid-credit scene like that is like you going like, we're going to get another movie.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
This
person was just
technically a
breaking
financial
down the
success.
Yeah, the person
yeah.
was breaking down the exact numbers that the movie would need to get. And it was 200 million worldwide.
Which got in the first weekend.
To get to a
Jeez.
place
It'll make
where it
more.
could be a financial success that they could say, okay, we can do another. It's
It's kind of like, imagine if Iron Man 1 wasn't good and we still got that Nick Fury scene at the end. Like, man, you just left you just left it open. But imagine how many series and universes have been been made, and they have all these Easter eggs and all these, open doors where it's like, fuck, I kind of would have wanted to see that.
Yeah.
There's always gonna be somebody that's like, I would have wanted to see it. But then it's really cool that like you bring that up of like, this is the mark. And they broke it in the first weekend, which makes it a financial success. I know specifically all the actors really brought as much as they could to it.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, you have a talented cast. So like
Yeah.
Michelle Williams.
the thing about it is like where Marvel took like people who didn't have big careers at the time. Like I love Chris Evans, but at the time before Captain America, he was not what he is now. They've done the opposite. They've taken these great stars and put them in these roles. And I'm really interested to see how that is going to work. I mean, it helped the script a lot.
Yeah. But yeah. It's interesting. I mean, it's an action film that you actually get to see some of the action versus some parts. I compare it a little bit to Transformers.
Okay. Yeah.
In Transformers, I see robot crotch all day.
Yeah.
And I wish
Yeah.
I could see a punch being
you can't
thrown.
really tell.
It's
what's
like
going
my
on.
issue
it's
with
just like
Ready Player
craziness.
One, like the battle. I was like, I don't know what the fuck is happening. There's so much CGI.
I will say, and I don't know if it's interestingly enough, I think it's the MCU that's getting me a little fatigued, but I feel like that's probably just because those are the only movies I've seen.
That's your fault.
That's my fault. That there's a little too much like third act CG porn kind of happening.
I just had a question just because it kind of sounds like all of us has some things to say. And we don't normally sit around for an hour and a half and potentially bash a movie.
No.
And I was thinking, what if we went to favorite parts?
Yeah.
So we can talk a little bit of positive.
Yeah.
And then
I think we were just saying.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know if you know a little bit more, and then we can move to more of a question for Tom.
Yes, you in the sweater, please.
Yeah, thank you. Do you know what Sony's plan is with Spider-Man?
Sony's universe of Marvel characters.
Yeah, because to me,
As it's
it felt
officially
very
called?
strange to me that
is it really?
Yeah.
and I was waiting for this to be pleasant, to be like delighted or whatever, but there's no trace of Spider-Man in this. To me, it feels very strange to not have Spider-Man in it. Not because it's like, yeah, sure, there can be a one-off comic of Venom run that doesn't include Spider-Man at all, but I feel like when you're translating it for the first time or second time, whatever, to cinema, like I feel like you should put all the context in there.
I'm going to
So,
stop you dead in your tracks.
It's all contracts.
Well,
They want
That's part
to
of
be
it.
a part of the MCU. Like,
I'm talking about story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
to
talking
answer-
about story.
Let me
Yeah.
answer his question real quick then, because it's
Yeah.
not story related. You're asking why isn't Spider-Man in, or why?
Well, no, I mean, I feel like even contracts, because it's Sony.
Yeah, they
So-
wanted. So there was that whole big thing where I forget who the head of the Sony movie department is, was sitting in a room with Kevin.
They were
Yeah.
doing an interview.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, absolutely, it's part of the world." And he was like, "No, like I don't know
Yeah.
yet. Like,
Oh,
we'll see how it goes."
Because the thing
kinda
with Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man itself, like Sony got to see all distribution, but then Marvel got to see all production.
Yeah,
And so those are different things, which Venom specifically was all in-house, Sony.
yeah,
Yeah.
But specifically, I want to say like this. And I think we live in a Marvel universe. But then if with that context of like, we should have this with all the context, then none of the Marvel films should have ever been made.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because Iron Man would not exist without Captain America.
Right.
And then like Thor would not have been able to be made without like showing more of its universe.
Mhm.
And so
It's the creative liberties
it's
to tell
up
the
to
story.
the creative liberties as well as the right. And
It's the reason they didn't put the white
This-
on there.
yeah,
but they
because
left the white. I like that they left
the
the white in there.
veins. It was
Yeah,
cool.
because
Yeah.
you can't have a all black CGI character at
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
was like,
So I thought it was really cool.
I was telling Caitlin this, and I was like, I'm very wary going into it because Venom has Spider-Man like costume traits, but I stayed away from a lot of the trailers,
Well,
but I didn't realize that he doesn't have the Spider-Man thing
Yeah.
on it. And I'm like, oh, okay.
so
So that's
also,
kind of like how they get around that.
also as well as like this is more inferred knowledge, right? Ultimate Universe Venom is completely different. It's
Yeah.
not an alien at all. It's Spider-Man's DNA mixed with Harry Osborn's
Mhm.
or Norman Osborn's, whatever. It's a goblin serum, and it makes like a genetic monster, not an alien monster. And it
Mhm.
doesn't have any of Spider-Man's abilities, or it does have Spider-Man, but it doesn't shoot webs. It climbs things like the tendrils and all that stuff. Like this is how this would work without that. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't stick to walls. He climbs them with claws.
Yeah.
And those are things like Spider-Man doesn't eat people's heads.
Mhm.
Spider-Man isn't big and hulking when he's like that. But with Tom Hardy versus Tom Holland, who would win in a fight? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, but,
yeah, I mean, to
I
versus to that point,
wonder.
which I guess kind of is a little bit of an addendum to my first reactions or whatever, which is like, I should heed my own advice. Like, this is a run.
well, not even.
Of
It's
Venom.
a,
where it's like-
full circle.
It doesn't, because we all get up on that, like,
But
that, studio politics of like, hey, who owns what goes where. And it's unfortunate that it affects our like perception. of movies.
I would say this. This is the quantifying question of the bit. There's going to be comic book fans who are like, well, how do you do a story that's contingent on Spider-Man? It's like, well, then you tell the story without Spider-Man. Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and these are the things where it's like, I think the filmmakers did as much as they can without Spider-Man. I think it was great. I think like having an alien symbiote that just takes people's bodies, blah, 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 is fine. But you have to start thinking of it's like everything you know as well has a further in world. But how much of it do you really care about? Now we have all this quote unquote baggage of like, well, it's Spider-Man. Well, it's like, well, then try to imagine without Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And see how much does it actually capture that character. You
Yeah,
know?
they did well. Yeah.
And so
But anyways-
those kind of things are like the guidelines I feel like they
Yeah.
have to work in. Those are almost like restrictions that the
Yeah.
writers have to work
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, but yeah, I want to touch on those just because they were like
Yeah.
part of
That's a
the
great question.
Well, now
setup.
I'm curious. That
Yeah.
brings up: has there ever been in the comics a just Venom story?
He
There
has
is.
he has his own
Yeah.
run. Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
He's been having his own run for a long time.
Okay.
Agent Venom series, and now it's like I forget what it's called now, but yeah, right now to sell more, to hype it up.
And there was tons of runs in the 90s too where
Mhm.
like other symbiotes came, like Scream.
well,
and
that's
Slasher
quote
and-
unquote all the other ones that were
Yeah.
there. I
Yeah.
think, which I'll talk about a little bit of that too because
Yeah.
I feel like we should have seen those.
because that was
Or
my
they might not
question.
have been those ones. Like he said, there's
Millions.
Right.
Millions.
Because I was like, yeah, he has a run, but that even that picks up on the context of Spider-Man existing or whatever. And that was my thing of like, okay, MCU has this huge continuity,
they're just doing it backwards. They
DC
eventually want to build the
right?
Spider-Man.
So that's
That's
what
the whole
I
reason it's PG-13 is that
Right.
eventually
They wanna
Sony's
bring it
hoping
back
like,
in.
hey Marvel, you
yeah.
want Venom in your movies?
So it's kind of like its own like Thor in that way, where
Yeah.
it's like, hey, not really connected to anything minus Coulson,
Mhm.
and then bring
Yep.
it back in.
yeah, that's a
I
good
would
way to
say.
put it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
It's a
that's
great
what
way to
they're
put it.
hoping to
Yeah.
do, and depending on the success of this, is going to be able to do it. And I think that's kind of a cool discussion point of like critically, it did very poorly, but commercially, it's done better than most superhero movies that do poorly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing, and I think it's something we can explore.
Yeah.
But with that, Josh wanted to talk about some favorite parts. Let's talk about some favorite parts.
Josh, bring us in.
Okay. The thing that comes immediately to mind is the scene in which Eddie goes to the news building to give his sources, and there's this crazy, creepy fight scene, which is cool in itself, but it's after when Anne is coming to kind of save him, and she he's like, no, don't go away, don't go away.
I mean, I'm scared.
Yeah, she goes, you're crazy, and he just like, you just see a real moment where he's just like, no, I'm scared. And like it really, and she transitions like that for me was the best part of the movie, because it was like emotion where I was like, oh shit, I forgot.
Almost like Tom Hardy's
this
a
is
good actor.
fucking with his life.
I mean, that's one of the reasons I think he was one of the few people on my list of people who could pull it off.
Yeah,
because he's one of those like
He does
actors that does the machismo really well, but also
Yeah.
has a very like sensitive side to him
Yeah.
that he's shown in movies like Rock and Rolla and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
was like really interested in. him to bring to it.
Tom Hardy talks about that a lot because everyone sees him as like, it's Tom Hardy, he's the big guy, but he doesn't see himself that way, and that's why he actually thinks he plays that better, because he sees as something he's not actually.
I mean,
he is not actually.
He's super soft spoken in interviews.
Yeah.
like
He's like goofy
Mhm.
tough.
super uncomfortable in interviews too. Like
Yeah.
just doesn't really want to. Be there.
He's very interesting to watch in other things. Like this was,
Like I still need to see
I know that he's
Bronson.
I know that he is I would consider him a character actor. If you look
An art
back at
house
what
actor.
he's
Mhm.
done,
Yeah.
Peaky Blinders, Taboo,
Flawless.
yes, I mean this to me was kind of a regular guy.
Can you, for the uninitiated, explain character actor?
I mean, a character actor is somebody who, I mean, how would I explain that?
They're good at
'Cause-
playing roles that are a little larger than life.
Yeah, they're
So
not
a little
normal,
eccentric,
they're
a little
per
more
se.
standoutish
Yeah.
than a normal person would
It's
be.
not
So
going to be someone you're meeting on the street.
very often they're not the straight man in the scene.
And typically a straight man in the scene for most Hollywood narrative is an audience stand-in. It's someone that like is morally correct and, you know, has to like, what's going on here? Whereas like sometimes character type characters are usually side characters sometimes,
Yeah.
and they're like, they get to have all the personality.
So
and
here's
be
a
fun.
good we were what about like so like in Harry Potter, Harry is just a kid, where Snape, Alan Rickman, is playing a very characterized person of
Mhm.
someone.
Yeah.
Has very
Yeah.
defined qualities that you would only put to that person. That
Well,
is
Johnny
character.
Depp is considered a
Yes,
character
Johnny
actor.
Depp.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're never, besides What's Eating Gilbert Grape,
Yeah.
you're hardly ever gonna get him
playing a person.
Yeah.
playing a person just acting.
Like
He's-
Will Turner is the normal human, like
Yeah.
good person, good-hearted, wants the girl. Jack
Jack
Sparrow
Sparrow's
is
a character
little
actor.
eccentric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to Venom.
Back to Venom. So it was very interesting to see
Very
that.
human
So
part.
yeah, very human part. And then of course the scene at the end when he's talking to the thug
Mm.
in the market, just when he's explaining what he's gonna do to him. I kind of wish he would have let him go, but he didn't.
His liver
Um,
was looking tasty.
Yeah, his liver was looking tasty. Well, that scene when he's talking to Venom and he's like, "Here are the ground rules," and then leading up to that, I was like,
Yeah.
"This is fun. This is
Yeah.
cool."
Kaylin?
Favorite parts?
I have so many.
All of them.
All of them. Anytime where Tom Hardy does something.
Jesus.
So, the lobster tank was funny.
He improvised that, by the way.
Did he really?
Sort of. In rehearsal, they were walking through, and he saw that they had set up a tank just to like make it look fancy. And he turned to the director and he's like, "I'm getting in that." And they were like, "Okay, let's work it in."
It
And so
makes
that was
me
his
love
idea.
it so much more.
Which I
He's
want
like, "I gotta get in it. I gotta get it."
Oh.
So the one he takes a bite of is a marshmallow lobster with chocolate fudge blood.
oh my
Oh,
god.
that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I want to add to that, and it kind of leads into later stuff. But like Riz Ahmed and Tom Hardy talked about their favorite sequences that they shot were the ones that weren't in the movie.
Aw.
Oh,
So,
that
like,
sucks.
Those kind of things, I think, and that's I want to just kind of carry on to Josh is like the cast. I think brought so much to the film that
Yeah.
imagine if we didn't have
Mhm.
like, and that's kind of the thing.
Hopefully
if
we'll see
if
a
we didn't
extended
have
cut.
like well-established actors that we couldn't get their buy-in for, sometimes it would fell flat.
I would love to see
Extended
like
cut.
an unrated version of Venom.
Oh my god.
Oh,
that'd
yeah.
be amazing.
That would
I think it'd
be-
be so much better.
amazing.
So more Tom Hardy.
More Tom Hardy. When he asked Venom like what he wants to eat, and he's like, "I want tater tots and chocolate."
Yeah.
Like that was
It's gonna tickle the pickle tonight. Yeah.
that was great. I Oh my God. My brain is like swimming in most
related
of the
to that.
movie.
Tater tots and chocolate.
Yeah.
A moment that I really, really loved was like the whole movie, Venom is being like, you're a loser.
Sorry.
You're a
I
loser.
thought you were saying the one part that I love was the whole movie.
Well, you're not wrong. But no, the whole movie Venom is being like, you're a loser. You're
Oh,
bad. You're pathetic. And he's like, well, we're the same person. That's why like this works.
I'm a loser.
I'm
like
a
you.
loser like you. Like I thought that was very cute.
Yeah.
Did you like
Yes.
Venom makeout scene?
She Venom.
I liked She Venom more than the makeout scene. The makeout scene, I don't give a shit about that. But she looked bomb. That was great.
Bomb
She
diggity.
could wear
It's
that
like-
all the day.
It was lifted
Them at-
right out of the comics.
Was it really?
Yeah. It's like perfect.
Also, I
She
like
Venom's
when
dope.
he's trying to explain, talk to Dan, and he's like, "Would a parasite make you climb a tree, but like really
fast.
high
Really
and
fast.
really fast?" Like,
Yeah.
I love how when he says things that things just
Doesn't the Venom
crackle
go,
and trail
yes.
off. We did.
Yeah. We did.
Yeah, and also his rage at his neighbor that's playing
that
the
was what I was
guitar.
gonna say. when he freaks him out, he's like, I can turn the music down.
yeah. I can do that.
Okay, I'll let you guys go because I'm just gonna quote
Everything,
all the
the whole
movie,
movie.
all the movie, all the day.
Thing. I loved one of my favorite parts is when he swings across into like the stoner's apartment, and they were like, "How'd you do that?" and then the shield goes up behind him.
I was thinking, well,
I got a parasite.
I was with my friend. They're playing fucking PlayStation on a Sony movie, and I was
Of
like,
course.
watch them be
course.
fucking playing Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Like, I was just like waiting for it.
that would have been great. But yeah, I liked anytime they were talking. Like I could
Venom and
have
and Eddie.
yeah,
The
like
conversations.
he was the way they did it is the same way they did it in Legend. So like he had a really micro earpiece that they would remove digitally, and
Earwig.
they would have a sound engineer queued up for all his lines, and they would
Mhm.
just play it in his ear.
Wow.
And so like
Which is a incredibly appropriate way to do it. So you're actually reacting. To
yeah, and they did it. I mean, he did that movie Legend where he played the twins, and
Yeah.
they brought it into this, and so he had some experience with it, and so it's kind of like that Empire Strike Back. Like he was telling, he's like, I got to play with it. Like I got to play against myself, and like he records both or the Venom lines in the morning, and then goes through them. And so you could really tell how much fun he was having with that, and I really enjoyed seeing Tom Hardy in a somewhat comedic role
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah.
time because you don't get to see it very
Physical
often, and
comedy.
he's really great at it. Like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
really great at
Yeah.
comedy.
Corey, may I say, I'm making the assumption here. I think you get a raging nerd on whenever you see your buff masculine dudes actually be able to have comedy like Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
because it's such a juxtaposition.
Refreshing,
Breath
and-
of fresh air.
But
Breath
not
of the
only just
Wild.
do comedy, but like when they nail it, it has like I don't
Yes.
want to see someone half-ass comedy. That won't impress me. But like
Sorry, I'm
that scene
sorry.
in the fine diner where he takes it by the steak, spits it out, and looks the waiter in the eye, and goes, "This is dead." Like I like laughed out loud at a lot of parts in this movie. Like so seriously, this is dead. This is dead. Getting into the lobster tank cracked me up. Like that whole scene for me was
Well, the fight scene
phenomenal.
with the like the SWAT,
Oh,
that team.
I'm so sorry
oh,
about your friends.
Yeah,
that was like, I mean, that was a physical
The SWAT
comedy
one?
bit.
or the
The
apartment one.
The apartment one,
Yeah.
where he's like being let out. I was
And he's apologizing. Like there's
Yeah.
a line that he says that Venom says where he's like, "We should bite off their heads." Wait, why? Pile of heads, pile of bodies. I was like, this is great. I like Venom. I
Yeah.
loved their interactions.
Yeah.
Anytime it was pretty much just the two of them or him trying to converse with someone and Venom just like throwing in little like, we did. Like that kind of
yeah.
sold.
It was
I'm
great. It was so good.
sold. Those are all my favorite parts.
For me, hands down, my favorite sequence to watch physically is when Venom and Eddie know like shit's gonna go down. So we got to fight all these cops.
Yeah.
Or the guards, where the fuck they were. They were cops because it's red and,
Yeah.
red and blue.
Or this, when he's like,
Where he's like, hand down. And
Yeah.
it's like, put the hands down. It's like, okay, boom. And then
Jump.
and I love that because to me,
The pussy, it was great.
with that, it's it's the second act fight scene. It's the midpoint of the film. But also, much like in Batman Begins, when you first see Batman fight against Falcone's men, you don't see him.
yeah,
You see like his leg, you see a fist, and you see people just moving around. And then you get the reaction Falcone, be like, what the fuck? Because he's so fast, you don't see him. I'm using air quotes.
Yeah.
But with this, like they have the fog, the smoke, so you don't see a lot of stuff. So you get that same like he's moving so fast, yeah, he's so big and he's so strong. Obviously you could talk about like people just flying in the air with like harnesses and whatever, but like you got to see the strength he had.
Yeah.
He could
Yeah.
toss you as if you were a piece of paper.
And I loved the little details, like when the flash grenades would go off and Venom would like
Explode.
yeah, he would like bounce off a little bit and then come back.
Is there a
'cause of the
sound thing? Is there a sound thing?
The plane when he's on the top of the building.
Well,
and
no,
the
I was
plane
gonna
flies
say
over.
that's where they played the Wilhelm scream.
Oh,
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, I'll say this right now. Sadly, the Wilhelm scream now gives me like a 0.1 up every single time.
You're
every single
welcome.
time. I'm just like, you know
Dan
what?
and I both went, ah.
I appreciate it. Because I feel like it's almost like a staple of filmmaking where it's like, you got to put it in there one time.
It's almost like an urban legend kind of thing.
I just thought of one favorite part that I was on the edge of my seat for, just from a design standpoint, was when Riot and Venom are fighting and they're mixing together and there's that like liquidy.
And you can see
Yeah.
Tom Hardy and the other guy in the
Riz,
middle.
That I was like, me and Bonnie walked out and went, whoa, that was dope.
Yeah, my wife and I really liked that. We were like that. I liked the look of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that first fight scene with the cops.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the second fight scene, but yeah, it's the first fight scene where you see
It's the first one with the cops.
Grenades
Yeah.
Yeah.
and,
Not the
yeah,
SWAT,
and
the
you
smoke
get
grenades.
in the animated cartoon all the time. If you ever see Venom, he has red and blue lights on him, and it's just a shadow. And so when they had that in there, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
Avi Arad, you finally let it happen, you dumb bitch. Because he's the one that hates Venom, and he's like the main producer. I'm like, you know, people want this. You know, people been wanting
He
Tom
hates
Hardy.
Venom.
He despises him. He thinks Venom is a lazy villain.
Why?
He said on an interview
What?
because it's quote unquote just anti-Spider-Man. And I'm
But
like,
it's
but
more
if you write
complicated
it
than
that
that.
way, then it is.
Yeah.
But if you make him his own thing,
And his own,
then
like,
he
the whole
won't be.
Anti-hero. Like when the first time they teamed up to fight Carnage, I was like, this is a different type of villain.
It's
Yeah.
dope. And the thing is, he's not even a villain anymore. Anyways,
But
yeah.
he was when I
Yeah.
read it
I
at
feel
the
like
time.
you've got very strong emotions about this, Tom.
Venom's his second
about
favorite.
Avi Arad.
Yeah.
Because he's the reason why Spider-Man 3 is Spider-Man 3.
Yep.
But yeah,
What,
same thing with
Spider-Man
Corey.
P?
Better than
As
Amazing
in perfect,
Spider-Man.
yeah.
It was not better than Amazing Spider-Man. You fucking take that back.
Here we go.
Oh my God, I'm having flashbacks to episode 7.
It's a barn burn.
Episode
Okay.
6.
But no. And as well, any part with Venom and Eddie interplay.
Yeah.
That was my favorite.
Oh,
So jolly.
What are we talking about?
Favorite parts.
Favorite parts.
Venom.
So,
This is Nerd On.
no, my favorite part was like, and it's funny, me going in, like, as I am now, sitting here with crossed arms, like, this was me in the seat being like, yeah, okay, impress me, like, what?
Come on, Sony.
Come on, Sonny, let's see what you got.
Also wearing
Sony a
pink
bitch.
socks.
Wearing pink socks, which say Project Mayhem on them, okay? Thank you very much.
Do they really?
Yeah, they do.
Oh,
I'll show it's scrunched up now, but
fuck you, it does.
but
Watch your socks carefully, Ellie.
and also I had stayed away from trailers just because I didn't care.
Mhm.
And then I saw like a picture. I saw one production still of what Venom would look like. That was all I.
Is it the one where he's grabbing? The
It was
bulb?
like maybe, yeah,
Okay.
and it was just like a frontal shot of
Okay.
like a close shot. And then the first time like that it like
Comes
stretches over him and he's like, what did he say? We're Venom?
No, he says
In the trailer, it does.
In the trailer it does. I forgot what he says in the actual
Yeah.
movie, but I was like, he looks amazing. And I was it
Well, that's
made
when
me
he's
like
describing all the body parts, right?
Yeah. Liver, pancreas, brain.
it made me into like a little kid again.
Yeah.
And I was like, this looks incredible.
Yeah.
Like I was really blown away with how good Venom looked. And so just that first scene was just like,
They updated a lot of the CGI from the first trailer to this. And
Did they?
Thankfully so, yeah.
that must be what
Some
it
of the
is.
motorbike CGI in the trailer,
Yeah.
I was like, oh no. But it worked.
And the symbiote looked great. But yeah, Venom, I think that first scene was cool. And then the fight scene with the SWAT team,
Yeah.
that was just
Oh, and they got
awesome.
his
Looked
size right.
amazing.
Like
and they got his size
the thing about Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi's, is that
He's
it was
no
just
bigger.
Topher Grace.
it was like slightly buffer.
yeah.
Topher.
But he also still had like the spider suit.
Spider webs.
It was
yeah.
it was basically a black Spider-Man suit.
But
It's
this
cool
looked
when the
great.
monsters are on your side. That's what I'm saying. That's what
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Yeah. So that was cool. And also the first time hearing his voice, I was like, whoa, okay. So that's what they went with.
Good
That's,
job, Tom Hardy.
That sounds
Tom
awesome.
Hardy, yeah.
Like, and I was like, yeah, that's
Yes.
got to be him because he's great at voices.
There's a video out there though that's called because his accents are just always so eccentric.
Mhm.
There's a video out there, I believe, if someone can find it, send it to us, that says Tom Hardy has never heard people speak before. it's just a mix of when his accents
Go
went like
Tom!
the furthest.
Yeah. I was worried about his New York accent
His
or
Eddie
whatever,
Brock.
but I think actually he nailed it.
I'm a reporter.
Yeah. I was worried about that. And there were a couple line
Evil people.
deliveries.
But like once you got the character,
But,
it kind of fit.
Yeah, well, it
you know?
fit and it worked, and he killed it. And I said this, I forgot who I said this to, maybe you, Caitlin. But I was like, this
Head
movie would have been in trouble if it didn't have Tom Hardy.
So
And
I agree.
and I wholeheartedly still believe that.
Tough for Grace, baby.
wholeheartedly.
Shout out to Sesame.
Should we quickly do our
Wholeheartedly.
favorite? Quickly do our
Wholeheartedly.
favorite characters because we're getting at
Yeah.
that hour point.
Yeah.
Venom.
Venom?
Venom.
Anne.
Yeah.
Venom.
Okay, cool. Favorite characters.
Favorite
Done.
characters.
Dan.
No.
I meant Dan, not Anne.
Dan.
Mine was the little girl who answered Riot.
But that brings us to our qualms.
Qualms.
Qualms. Going to spin that. I'll try to make this real quick. I think the tough thing is like it's a baggage thing. It's very much like I see that the film like needs that 40 minutes that was taken away. And my main thing is like I just wish there would have been more interplay between Eddie Brock and
Ed
Venom.
Hardy and
Ed
Venom.
Hardy.
Yeah.
What is it?
Tom Venom.
I
Making
agree
more
with that.
shirts. Like I just want like they had all the right lines to justify like we don't like each other. I'm using you. I don't like you anymore. You're killing me. To we see things eye to eye, and I'm going to save the world because of you. And I was like, cool. But I wish
It
that would have been.
requires
There
it
was-
requires the audience to know more about Venom than a lot of them do,
Right.
because it's a lot of them don't know it's a two-way relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
If
that
you die,
like,
I die.
yeah, well, it's a two relationship in the sense that also like he's learning, he's got all his memories, right? He can go through his mind, whatever. He's learning about the planet, he's learning about relationships, and he's learning about how powerful he is here on Earth.
Comparatively.
And he's just like, what changed your mind? You did. And it's not just a you did because I'm all powerful now. It's a you did because now we understand each other and I understand where I am. Yes.
Well, I was just going to add to that because that's one of my qualms. Is it was part of the transition when he's like getting ready to like go to battle
Fight Riot.
and
Yeah.
fight Riot, and he's like, and Venom's like telling him, well, we gotta save the planet and all this kind of stuff, and what changed his mind. And for me, I just felt like the transition was just way too
Abrupt.
Sudden.
abrupt
Mhm.
and sudden, and I was
It
like,
wasn't
really?
earned.
Because and I understand that explanation of
Yeah.
like they're sharing brains. They're
Well,
sharing.
there's probably also a great 6-minute
Scene.
scene that was cut
yeah.
where they have a talk.
And if the thing that I thought about was maybe like, okay, the scene that ends the movie, what if that came before this scene when he's laying down the rules? Even I would buy that, where it's like, okay, I've laid down the rules. This is how you can kill bad people.
That scene should have happened before all this.
Should have happened
Yeah.
before. Like the transition for me, I was like, nah, bruh. I just from a story standpoint, I need some sort of explanation to get, because Venom is a character to me. He
Mhm.
has emotions, he has thoughts, he has. So I want to see that transition.
You didn't see
and
the
that
development
travel.
of that character.
Yeah.
Mm.
as much.
I
Yeah. You get a
also-
little
As much.
glimpse of
Yeah,
it
yeah.
with that. I was a loser. Like
They use Michelle Williams more than they use Rachel McAdams and Doctor Strange, but they also just made her like a plot vehicle, which made me a little irritated sometimes. Of like, well, yeah, I'm afraid of sound and fire. It's like, okay,
She was just everywhere conveniently.
yeah. And I really like Michelle Williams as an actor,
Yeah.
Actress, whatever you want.
either
to use.
one.
But and I wanted. If I were to like have an go at it, I would have had it where like Riot, like she's still there in the third act, she could still do it, and she doesn't have that War Machine next time thing, but she has that still like I'm gonna help and do something, and she does, but it causes her to get captured by Riot,
I can fight dirty.
which would make me feel like Eddie has a thing
Has some
other than
investment.
like my planet's gonna die. But Venom has a thing where it's like I have to go against Riot because he like this is my new home. But it didn't feel too much of like Eddie going against like Carlton Drake, because at that point we didn't really know until Eddie doesn't really know until he fights him and he's it's Carlton Drake.
Yeah.
But yeah, if she was more involved in the third act with like the fight scene, then I would feel that there would have been more of a personal attachment other than the world's at stake.
Or if they had made their breakup 6 seconds long and unemotional.
Something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. The beginning scene kills me because I just wish that you could just take in a little bit longer time, or
Beginning
just
scene,
not have
sequence.
where it's like explaining like he's a reporter, this is the fiance, this is the ship that
Oh
lands.
yeah.
Like,
So, yeah, the
they
first
just
like
take-
15.
They
Yeah,
montage
take
it.
away that title that says 6 months later and just make it a longer sequence, and we would have been fine.
Yeah.
We could have just had like
We
a
didn't
little
need 6
montage of
months.
him like losing his
really-
house, going to an apartment, and having.
I'll take it one step further. I don't even think you need that shit. I think you start with, aren't you Eddie Brock? I used to be. Like that scene could
Yeah.
start it all off. And then you already know he used to be someone. He's used to be someone that people know.
Yeah.
He's down on his luck. And the next scene is him confronting his ex fiance.
Yeah.
And then you meet there's another man. Like you could start the movie
could.
there.
I didn't even think about that, but
Yeah.
that feels right to me.
Like all the stuff that led up to it. I'm sorry, I'm hijacking your qualms. But
It's collective.
the stuff
We.
that led up to it, I felt was first of
We
all
are
so
nerd on.
rushed, gave us some information. The only information you'd miss by taking those scenes out is that they had a cat.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's true.
And I
not
really
even that
think-
because he
Looks at
knows
he
the
looks
name.
at the cat.
That's true.
I just came to
Yeah,
see the cat.
That's true. But like it could have all been included there, and I
Uh,
think it could have saved a lot of that. Like, because that was rough. I really didn't like the movie until
One thing I was
that
thinking
6 months later scene.
right at, and since we're kind of qualm pooling here,
we.
We Aquaman.
I think it was right when he's on the bridge
Mhm.
before he makes the call. I was like, they're playing like 10-year-old superhero movie here. They're like daring to have this really, really long origin phase of this movie without Venom in it at all. Because like I'm interested in the timer of when he interacts with the symbiote. Do you know
Oh,
when?
like how long do we get to it? I don't
Yeah.
know, probably like
Hmm.
20, 30 minutes in.
It's got to be at least 30.
It's got to be
yeah.
30. I feel.
in what the movie's an hour and a
Which
half.
I mean, to
Yeah.
that point,
Yeah.
it feels a lot
Hour
better
and
if you do take out the
52.
beginning sequence. Um,
But the point being, like, I wish we had gotten, because I loved Venom so much. I wish we had gotten to that point, and I think like the things you positioned like as a better starting point, I think
Yeah.
would have worked a little bit
Well,
better.
because like the thing that pissed me off the most about the beginning scene is the breakup. It's a 1 minute
It does
or
feel
less
it did
scene,
feel very
and from being so in like they're very in love in the first scene,
Right.
And they're very happy, and they have like
Yeah.
they're out to dinner, and she's like supported him through some really hard times, and they obviously
they talk about
they have a deep relationship,
Yeah.
and her breakup is just like
but they
here's
don't
the
even
ring.
fight.
Bye.
Like it's just like here's your ring.
And there's no
And then-
emotion. It's dry, like nothing.
And then so the 6 months later, that's another part of like I was like, wait, they were so like you guys were so connected. Like it just seemed like there was so much love there. And then the breakup, I was like, okay, she's pissed. I can kind of get past that. But it was like 6 months later. This is stupid, but you moved on already. 6
They were
months, like you were
engaged.
Yeah.
engaged. Me
Yeah.
from a realistic point of view. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't.
It's tough.
It
And
would
then he's got his
help-
own
it
key
would
and
help
stuff, and-
if they did a little bit more interplay of like if the new boyfriend did like it's me or him, or does it like a you can't go, it's too dangerous, and she's like I have to.
Yeah.
Just that line. Just
Or,
that,
like,
like cool.
Just
he
pick
still
it up
fucking matters.
with him drunk in the bar. Like that's
Well,
just pick up the movie there.
I mean, just to add to that
Oh,
sense
yeah.
of like, why is she helping other than being nosy
yeah.
at this
Hmm.
point? But like, another qualm is like with Riz Ahmed's character, Carlton Drake. Like, I love Riz Ahmed. I think he did well for what
Oh my god,
screen
we
time
have
he
all the
got.
same qualms.
Yeah,
He-
you're stop.
You're
going
not
on my
really
list. You
hijacking.
can't.
You just
we
like symbioted.
we're all. I think this is a free for all qualm section.
pretty much. Yeah.
And I would have wanted this is
All he needed was a mustache and then to twirl it.
But you know
Like-
what?
No, for me, he wasn't evil enough.
Yeah. You know what? I
It's
think
just
what
kind of a
would have
guy.
been
Carlton
Monologuing a
Drake?
lot.
what would have been cool.
Wasn't evil enough for you?
I like that he was self-righteous and
Yeah,
that
no,
he
I
was
thought
like
that was
he
perfect.
felt like he
No,
was.
I
I,
get-
mean, he even compared himself to God at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
didn't
feel
get
like
any of that.
really.
I didn't feel any of that. I didn't feel
Well, no.
threatened by him. I didn't feel.
Yeah, what I meant.
That's
he
what I
meant-
mean, is
he
that, like-
seemed cheesy to me. Like
Oh,
his
yeah.
character was cheesy to me. Like I love
Like,
Riz.
I
The
would.
Night of. If you get a chance to watch The Night of,
He's
fucking
great.
incredible.
Like he's great,
Eh.
and I think his talent was wasted.
If I were to have a go at it, I would almost replicate the Norman Osborn scene.
God
to
damn
him.
it! That's what I was gonna say.
With Norman Osborn in the first proper Spider-Man film,
Yes.
he has an interplay between Goblin, and the Goblin is him, and so
Active
he
formula.
has a similar thing with Eddie Brock does with Venom, but then he has that with Riot, And we could have had that with the little girl with a giant riot, and then like they having the conversation. And what you could have done is intercut those same scenes with Eddie Brock learning about Venom as well, so that they're both learning the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
And then it would have created like, oh, they know exactly what they're doing with the symbiotes.
Yeah.
I get that.
Just to
but-
feel a little bit more like, all right, cool, Riot, I'm on your side. It's like, let's do it. It's like, oh, okay, you wanted to save the world, and now you want to infect the world with these parasites because you know it's for the betterment of humanity. But, you know, like, see, because to me, I think, in all honesty, Carlton Drake, yeah, he had shitty means to do what the fuck he did, but he quote unquote did it for the right reasons, right?
For the
It's
Thanos
like
reasons?
It's like the road to heaven is built, or the road to hell is built on the good intentions of
Paved with good
See, my
intentions.
thing is, it wasn't enough one way or the other.
Mhm.
Like with Thanos, what he was doing was fucking terrible, but they wrote him in a way where like there's a part of you that relates to him because
There's a cynical logic there.
he portrayed so well that his ideas are thought out and kind of stuff like that. And
Mhm.
or there's the other side of that where the villains are evil enough and menacing enough and intimidating enough where you're like, oh fuck, what are you gonna do? Like Joker, right?
Mhm.
Like Joker is that for me. Like he's that kind of like, what the fuck do you do kind of villain.
Chaotic
And for
evil.
me, he was too in the middle of both.
See, but that's what made him perfect to me.
Yeah, but
Because
not me. That's what I'm saying.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that he felt like a Google CEO or something, to where he's like,
He's
oh, I have
too
all the
young
best
to
intentions,
know.
but like he's got his vision.
manipulative?
His grand vision is so much more important than all the other people that.
But for me, that just invoked malaise. Like I didn't care. I didn't
That's
care
fair.
about him at all. Like I didn't feel for him enough and I didn't hate him enough
and
to do
also
anything.
weird connection to Spider-Man. It would have been cool too to have like a little bit of like Doc Ock, where it's like we can do it, we can make it bigger, we can make the ship better, stronger, and stuff like that. It's like there is, you know, like it's because of what Riot does for Carlton is kind of like what
Yeah.
Venom does for Eddie, but then what Riot is actually in a positive way helps Carlton realize like I have the ability to help you create your dreams.
Yeah.
And that would have been like kind of like a cool like
Pushing
oh,
him over the edge a little bit.
it would have been more like I might want to see Riot win.
Mhm.
Because what's wrong with having symbiotes? Because if you get stronger and you can travel space unaided,
That leads
what's
into
wrong with
another
it?
one of my qualms is the screen time Riot gets and
it's Ironmonger.
how
yeah.
quickly
Yeah.
he was gone.
100%.
Like
yeah,
I would have
I could
loved
have
for
taken a little
both
more of Riot.
for both Eddie Brock and Drake to both get their symbiotes way earlier.
Mhm.
Maybe have a midway fight where you can see that Eddie Brock has a stronger bond to Venom than Drake does to Riot, and then
Yeah.
they have a moment about that or something where
Yeah.
he's like, "We need more. We need to get stronger." And that's where they get the idea to get the Rocket to come back or something like that. Something
where you
that
see a little bit
it
of
wasn't
like
just like
method to the madness.
Yeah,
Um,
it wasn't just like, oh, I guess now they're gonna infect everyone because I barely
Yeah.
caught that.
Well, to me, it felt
Really?
like, especially
Yeah.
because like
I barely caught that was his new plan.
complemented with how
was so
abruptly
quick.
Venom seemed to switch for me.
Mhm.
It felt like, okay, we need to like have a climactic battle and finish the movie, as opposed to like this is like Riot didn't even seem like an antagonist to me. It felt
No.
like it's just the
it-
thing
well,
to wrap up
his,
the movie.
His weight was
I
given.
wouldn't-
His
I
weight was
wouldn't-
given in dialogue.
I wouldn't give it. I think Ironmonger was a better villain because of
He's throughout.
the
Yeah.
guy who
Jeff Bridges.
pilots us. Yeah, Jeff
Yeah,
Bridges.
I guess Riot was used as a plot device. Like, well,
Yeah,
we
like
can't have Carlton
Abomination,
Drake
maybe.
fight Venom, so let's put a symbiote
it was like
on him.
Abomination, where it's like
Well, and it very much feels like
he's just
he
a thing
could
for him
have
to
been,
punch at the end.
except they don't give him any lines or any interplay with the main character, so you don't feel like there's a lot of tension other than like he kills random civilians. But then like Venom saying like you wouldn't know what
He's
he
got
has
shit you
or
wouldn't believe.
Yeah,
He was
got
like,
shit you wouldn't
here's a
believe.
deep hole.
Yeah,
Here's a deep hole. He felt like Megatron in the first Transformers movie.
that's good to me. Sorry,
What?
Megatron in the first Transformer movie is way better than all the other Megatron movies. So
All right.
just say bad Megatron.
Bad
But
Megatron.
So many differing opinions. I'm loving
another
this.
a thing visually for me, which was a little weird. Riot is gray in the comic books, but I don't know if he should have been the villain because there's sometimes like I don't know who I'm looking at, and then they also sound very similar, and so I'm like, if I close my eyes, I couldn't tell who was talking.
Yeah,
Oh, Riot and Venom, you mean?
Yeah, Riot and Venom, and
Mm.
like in a way, and this is me going at a go at it. If I had a chance, I would have almost made Riot look more docile and more controlled, and drawn things from Terminator 2. Where you have Arnold Schwarzenegger who looks like the evil badass guy, and then have the cop guy who's actually the real killer.
yeah.
Because then you have Eddie Brock who's disheveled and ugly, whatever looking. He's not ugly. He's
Sweaty
beautiful.
and bloated.
And then you have Riz Ahmed, who's like calm, collected. So it's kind of like, oh, I should really go after like, you know,
if
like
it's a real symbiotic relationship.
yeah, but you play against our ways of like how we should see who should we vote for. Should we vote for the disheveled looking homeless person who's sweating all over the place, or should we go for the guy who's calm and collected,
Yeah.
who's speaking coherent sentences, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing on that sense where it's like, okay, cool, but they literally look the same in the comic.
It'd be
book,
cool
so.
if like he instilled some doubt in Eddie too. And
Yeah.
Venom's like, no, trust me. Like he's the villain.
Yeah.
It could have been basically. I just wanted Riot to have more of a personality. I think
Hmm.
more at the end.
More
of the day.
time. Just more
Just
time.
more time.
Yeah.
Just more time.
I would love to have seen Drake and like you said, Drake and him interact.
Maybe have or
Because I didn't
have
get that
Venom.
It
relationship
happened
at all.
really quick. I mean, I feel like I was given just enough crumbs to get it and be like, oh, okay, I get it. It's like fine.
They could have
Yeah,
played off
but
of
that-
the.
I
It would have
wanted
been
more.
interesting for like Riot to be influenced by Carlton
Oh, instead.
and Brock and Venom be influenced by Brock because those characters hate each other.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting
would've
to
been
have
cool-
the Riot.
Or it could have been cool that like Venom and Eddie are like cool hand in hand, but then Carlton Drake is the one that influences Riot
yeah.
to show that he is way like he's a superior, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
that could have been cool. Like things like that where it's like it's the same thing, but
Because
then
you
don't give
spend
me the-
I mean, not enough of the time, but you spend a good amount of time building up that these two human characters hate each other.
Mhm.
And that could have at least maybe bridged the gap a little
Yeah.
bit. But
I agree.
I was gonna say one thing that Riot does take his time doing is coming to America.
6 months,
Yeah.
baby.
6
Oh
months.
my God.
That's another reason why
That
the
goes back
6
to the
month thing
beginning
did
thing,
not make
yeah.
sense to me because
Yeah.
Well, he's not Bruce Wayne. He can't just go into a lockdown Gotham, you know.
I understand that. But for me, from a story standpoint, I was like, 6 months, and
Yeah.
this character is just arriving to San Francisco. Like
Those boots weren't made for walking.
that old lady had to walk a long
I
distance.
was like, for me, I
Long
was
way.
like, all right,
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I think the 6
It would've
month is
transferred to,
literally.
like 7. Like in one day, it already transferred for like 2 people. It would have been
Yeah.
like,
I think the 6 months was literally because of the relationship to show that it's been 6 months,
yep.
which
Such a
wasn't really
change.
needed.
I feel like the Riot stuff could have happened sooner.
Yeah.
because they could have. I was
They cut
like,
that beginning out, shift everything, and it would have taken it like a week to get here.
Oh,
Ooh.
I also have
Oh.
a thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah.
My qualm is that I don't know. I'm assuming that it was Tom Hardy that did the voiceover, but there are certain
is.
lines it wasn't. Well,
Yeah.
not Venom. I'm not talking about
Riot?
Venom.
For Riot.
Oh, for
Nope,
Riot.
not Riot.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
talking about moments where you can obviously tell that something was changed, and they decided to put different lines over things.
Oh,
Oh, 80 yard.
When they were 80-yard lines. Which definition of that for those who don't know what that is?
Additional
80 yards
recording.
when
When someone-
it's,
when you didn't
additional
get a line-
dialogue replacement.
she knows what it is, but the acronym.
Yeah, didn't
Yeah.
get a line correctly, or you need to change something, or maybe the mic didn't pick it up, or there was interference with the mic.
Yeah.
An actor will go into a booth and match their mouth
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
say the line.
Or
And
someone who
sometimes
is
it's
not
great
the
if their
actor.
mouth
yeah,
isn't
90% of the
on-
time, it's not the actor.
There were a
Cool.
few times that I noticed it.
Yeah.
When Tom Hardy's face just happened to be away from the camera,
Yeah.
or at an angle where you couldn't.
like an over the shoulder.
Like
Yeah.
I've gotten to a place that I can, because you can also hear the difference in the
They
mixing.
also cut away
Yeah.
anytime anyone said symbiote, or it was far away.
Huh.
Because they kept saying
Couldn't see their mouth
symbiote.
movement.
but you were saying,
Oh.
Sorry.
The Let's Go Save the Planet or the World or whatever. That did not sound like Tom Hardy to me at all.
Let's go save the world, dude.
Yeah, it sounded like a very young guy trying to sound like quirky Tom Hardy and not accomplishing it. And I hope
Interesting.
that I'm 100% wrong, but that was one of those moments where the first
Stood
time
out
I
to you.
watched it, it stood out hard. And then the second time I was like, ooh, I don't think he said that actually.
You like the
I think
circus?
I think they changed it. And
Probably.
I don't think that was even actually in there in the beginning. And they're like, oh, we have to,
They might
because
have
they
changed
removed
it for the PG-13. Like he might have said,
Right.
"Let's save the fucking world" or something.
or that wasn't even something he said, and it was something completely different, and they decided to
Let's go kick
change
his ass.
some of the narrative or whatever. Yeah, so that now we have to say, let's go save
Whatever
the world
it was.
to make it more.
No dice?
This is my hero moment, and yeah, that was the one little thing that kind of pulled me out.
Yeah.
I have one last one and I'll be done and hopefully we can move on. But this is my we're really gonna draw the line here moment of like Doomsday doesn't have explosion powers, like he's a giant genetic monster. You really? The names. Riot and Venom to me, like, how did you know that your names are fucking heavy metal?
Yeah.
Or how do you know your names are so badass? And maybe their name is translated from Klyntar to
It's
that,
like a
right?
human translation.
My way I would fix that is that they were doing animal testing first. And so it would have been cool if you had the Venom symbiote on a snake instead. And then if Tom Hardy was breaking people out, one of the snakes got out, and that's what got him. Very much like how a spider got onto a certain boy in high school.
Yeah.
Like you draw that, and it's like, my name is
Who is
Venom.
that?
Why are you Venom? Because I'm poisonous. Because I'm on
Pierre.
a snake. Because on your
Harry
planet,
Potter?
what
Pierre
kills
Parker.
you
Oh,
is Venom.
P. Hair.
Pierre.
Pierre Parker.
You know, things like
Right.
that, where it's like, why is your name Riot? Because, like, you know, caused a revolution, blah, blah, blah. Like, he could have been the Megatron, the harbinger of death that wanted revolution upon his planet.
Yeah.
But then it's like, how would you have known what that was? Like,
How do
those
they
kind
know
of
how to
things.
speak English?
Well, I think they just absorbed that in their brain.
So then, yeah, I would assume it's just a translation of some
It's like,
sort.
but like, your name is fucking, why is your name not Josh? You know, like,
Yeah.
your name is the equivalent
Well,
of
I want
Josh
to hear.
and Klyntar.
I want to hear the other million names now.
You know, it's like,
yeah.
it's death, metal, blah, blah, blah. It's
Yeah.
like, where,
Well, I mean, if
Barry?
you go back, I mean,
is there a,
not to like fucking mix this.
again, this is a
no,
draw
but
to the
like
line.
I guess where I would argue that is like in other cultures there are people with names that are things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like,
true.
you know, maybe that's what it is. Maybe on their planet they did
In that
name him
culture.
Venom, and they did name him Riot, and they did name someone Scream and
Could
Lasher.
do that.
Like, you know,
I think that was the thing, was when I heard it's kind
Sitting
of
Bull.
it's kind of like, and
That's a name.
I'm gonna draw it where it's like Han Solo,
Yeah.
where he's like, oh, you're all by yourself, you're solo. Where it's like, he goes, on my planet, my name would be Venom. Why? That's it.
Yeah.
I don't even
that'd
give a
be cool.
shit what it was, but why?
Yeah.
True.
I dig that. I dig that.
And
That
it's
would
like,
be neat.
and the weird thing, you know, like, again, this comic book baggage, right? So it's like, he says, I'm Venom, and it's like,
because it feels like it's pulled out of thin air.
yeah,
I will say that when I heard, like, I knew Venom's name was Venom the whole time, but then when their like team leader comes up and he's like, my name is Riot, I was like, for real?
His name's Riot. He's our leader.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, are you sure? Because I don't know.
like, again, if I had that
My name's
sequence,
badass.
if I had that sequence with the cross
really?
cut, like Carlton Drake at the very end could have been like,
My name's
what,
Fuck."
what do they call you?
What? In your language, it would be fuck. Is this a bad name?
But no, I did really get a good feel when he said we are Venom.
Yeah.
And again, that
Mhm.
could have been a cool part where it's like he is Riot. It's like, it shows again that relationship isn't
Yeah.
as strong as Eddie and Venom.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, we together are Venom, and then they
I am
are
Riot.
Riot and Carlton. So it's like those kind of things.
I
Yeah.
have one more qualm. The chemistry between Tom Hardy and Michelle Williams was not there for me. I felt like they were two actors doing a scene in every
Immediately,
scene.
the first scene they're together,
Yeah.
I felt that
Think-
immediately.
I didn't feel any. I was like,
Really?
why is she letting this guy
Yeah.
sleep in his bed? Like, why is she letting him?
I think,
I didn't get it.
like, so with Josh is like one of his favorite parts
She
of
had more
having-
chemistry with Dan.
with Josh's part where he said like how he liked the part between Eddie and Anne at that part. Like, I got that part too. I got that like really human moment. I think what we were left with was some chemistry lost, because like whatever was cut out, it makes me feel like it doesn't really show they had a relationship.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I
But
feel
I mean,
like
even the scenes I saw, I didn't vibe with it. Like, I didn't feel much. Like, I watch a lot of movies, and I watch a lot of romance movies, and I really love them. And
same.
I didn't get it. I didn't get I wasn't excited to see them together. I wasn't hurt when they broke up. And when she was with Dan, I was like, good. Like,
Aw.
that felt better. They
Aw.
had better chemistry on screen together than Tom Hardy and Michelle
Just in
Williams.
that
did.
one car sequence.
Like, which is not, it's just what it is. Sometimes actors don't match up. And for me, they didn't have the even their last scene on the
Porch.
Like,
It was very awkward.
I didn't
I can't
feel
really
it.
disagree, but it makes me sad.
I know. I just,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And
Yeah.
they're still broken up in the movie. So maybe
Right,
we won't
right.
have to see them
I
together.
mean, not saying I didn't like it, but I mean, it could kind of be like how with Batman. I don't know why I'm bringing up Batman a lot. She might
'Cause
get
you like-
recast.
Batman.
She might get recast, and then maybe someone else will have better chemistry with her, or they just
Maggie
work on it.
Gyllenhaal to the rescue. I'm just kidding.
yeah. I mean, that's another.
Maggie Gyllenhaal just saves it.
I mean, that's another example. Like, I always liked her chemistry better with Christian Bale than I did with
Katie
Katie
Holmes.
Holmes.
Yeah.
Like, I never bought that
Mhm.
for the first film.
And I think, and we talk about score on this show a lot, and I think sometimes the score and the shot selections didn't help out with that case in this
No.
film. But with like, at least with Katie Holmes, you hear like the somber Batman Begins theme, and you're like, oh shit, this is his childhood.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're like, oh fuck. Like, I
But when
remember- I
they
remember very
recast her,
vividly.
I was like, this the scenes they had together was
Good.
Dark Knight. Oof. Yeah. So I wish I wanted more of that because I know it can be done in a superhero movie.
I
I mean, Peggy Carter and
Chris.
Chris Evans,
that
like
was-
that they had great chemistry.
That was awesome.
I don't really RDJ and Gwyneth Paltrow, same thing. I don't
Yeah,
really feel
same.
that. I don't feel
yeah.
that at all.
Oh,
Ollie,
I like them
little
actually.
One other qualm, I suppose
Sorry.
I have,
Boo.
is I think we've kind of already touched on this in various degrees, but Michelle Williams' Ex Machina.
Plot
I
device.
I felt like she was too convenient. Also, when he like,
But
fights,
Ollie, she can fight ugly.
she
Yeah, she quite ugly.
she shows up to where like Venom is having the incident or whatever, or like fighting the SWAT team, and then like
Get in the
she's
car.
there.
Going to the doctor.
Well, not only that, but it's like so the law enforcement's just done. Like that's it. No
Oh, yeah.
backup. No
There's
like
no more.
no helicopters. No military.
Right,
No
people
like
would be outside if it was like a
They
real
would've created a
SWAT breach,
perimeter.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
they would have
mission
cut
complete.
the streets off.
Poured onto this place. Yeah.
That's a
it's-
plot hole.
yeah,
That's
it's a
what we
plot
call
hole.
a plot
And I'm
hole.
like, there's nobody there.
They
at
just
all.
safely get in a car.
Deserted. All the cop cars are there because he just killed a bunch of cops. And then she's just
Kill-
walking,
kill
strolls
them?
through.
He
I
just
mean-
threw them really
He
hard.
bit off one of their heads.
Well, I
no, he
mean,
didn't. He
But
stopped
there's
him.
no like
No.
captain
Did
in the
he?
back being
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh
There you
shit,
go.
you know.
well, I
like-
mean, kind of. Batman
He beat
Begins.
the shit out of
when
some
he has to go
cops.
save Rachel.
Yeah,
when he has to go
he
save
did
Rachel.
that.
He brings him back up, and all the cops get inundated outside too.
but they're there
I know that's what I'm saying. Is like that's how you
because they're busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I see that. I see that.
anyways, that was one thing. And then
like
like,
he should have escaped, and she should have found him.
she finds her way to the launch
Somewhere
sequence
else.
area to turn up the volume or whatever, which was also a little out of place for
How
me.
did
but
she get in there?
I don't know.
Everyone
She was there.
evacuated
She
because they
followed
were
him.
like, "Oh
Is
my
that
god,
what
an
it was?
alien's killing
Okay.
all of us."
Yeah.
There you go.
So I have a feeling most of security would have been like, "There's a fucking the thing is out. The thing is out. I'm okay. Guess I'm done."
Yeah, but they had
Fuck
a whole
a
strike
severance
force that
package.
would have been there, right?
Yeah, I feel like
They
that
had a
was the
whole
only-
strike force that knew what was going on.
Mhm.
I think most of them
Sort
died at that
of,
point.
but they didn't know what the symbiotes could do though, because only through Eddie Brock had they seen any fighting capability. So they had no idea that one, a symbiote would be able to take out a whole room of people, and two, that they were dealing with
But
Riot,
even
who's
after
even
they
stronger.
saw that, they still chased him and took him in, and so I feel like they knew.
Right, but they only knew to like a degree because Riot had like sword
Blades.
hands
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
could clear an entire room in like a second. So that's like, oh shit, we don't even know what this one's capable of.
I
We
can let
just
that-
thought it could
I
have
can let that
stretchy
go.
arms.
yeah,
But I feel like there would have been cops, Coast Guard,
someone
at
would have
least
called the
something.
cops, Yeah,
National Guard.
You'd think. You would think.
You would think, but hey, it's fine.
Logic. They would never have an airport, a spaceship launch next to a fucking
No, I
cliff.
I
No,
thought that.
that's a dumb thing. That's a dumb
I
thing.
saw
Though,
that. I
but,
was like, shot of San Francisco, very recognizable, and then this like,
but next to a metropolitan city, never.
right? That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like the artificial bridge out to a launch pad in the middle of like San Francisco Bay or whatever.
That qualm was actually given to me by one of our patrons, Lovehammer,
Yeah.
there you go.
because he's a science man.
Shut up.
Josh.
I actually have a couple more qualms.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Oh my
let's hear it.
goodness.
Yeah.
So many qualms today.
It's because we care.
Sorry. No, that's why I went to see it again because I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Something was happening to me that I couldn't understand it, so I had to go see it
Do you have a
again.
It's like you were
parasite?
13 all
I
over
have a
again.
It's called
parasite.
puberty, Josh.
A parasite.
I have a parasite.
It's a term of endearment.
So
I'm just gonna keep
okay.
doing that.
this is
Just gonna
something
keep
that
saying I'm not wearing hockey pants.
Oh.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I have a parasite.
I felt that it was trying too hard to be silly. It was trying too hard to be comedic. And like it really, really wanted that PG-13. And it really, really wanted that thing. And so it's like, I really want to see the lost tapes of Venom of
Hmm.
like the 40, like, because there were just some moments where it was like, I know that we've talked about this with Marvel where it's like
Bathos.
the bathos, but there was just some moments that it was just like, that wasn't even funny to me. Like it was just, what shows to me more so is with Eddie Brock's character. For me, he was just a mixed bag for me. He was sometimes this kooky kind of guy, and then sometimes he was a badass. And sometimes he was just like, his character, he was a hard sell for me.
Hmm.
And I love Tom Hardy, but there were moments that I was just like, I'm still not buying it. Like there's something that's just trying too hard. And the reason why I went to see it because I couldn't explain it, and I'm still not explaining it well. But there's something about it that I'm just
it
not.
just didn't resonate. Yeah.
It just didn't resonate. It just seemed too.
Tom
seemed
Hardy
forced.
specifically, or the whole movie?
I think it's the writing.
It's
The
the writing.
And
It's probably the writing.
There was some clunky dialogue. in there.
I think what happened with this is kind of what happened with Suicide Squad. Like the first trailer was like dark and gritty, which was everyone liked, and then the second one was kooky and funny, which even more people liked. And they decided to just kind of change the tone. I think what Josh,
It's
I think,
tough to
and a lot
cut
of us,
40 minutes from a film.
yeah, and a lot of
Yeah.
us, I think, kind of touched upon like, and for me, this kind of like encapsulates
Venom as a
it.
horror movie.
That'd be great. This
It was supposed to be.
Yeah.
encapsulates it for me is that the script itself is actually pretty weak, but the actors and everyone that could try to make it what it was did everything they could. But
Yeah.
again, you have the best director and the best cast. You can't make a weak script better.
Yep.
And I felt like you can have the best actors, whatever, but like they can't make things happen. Like with Robert Downey Jr. with Iron Man 3, he said on record that his biggest challenge was trying to make Iron Man interesting. And how the fuck do you mess that up? And so it's like things like that where it's like Eddie Brock and Venom are all cool things. And it's like now you're relying on, as Ollie said, thank God Tom Hardy was in this movie.
Mhm.
Imagine if some other actor that couldn't do those things, or like, Riz Ahmed and all that stuff. But it's like you got this kind of half characters for everyone almost. Because it feels like if they had the time to make them fully dimensional, then we would have.
And like for me,
Got some.
none of my qualms like with the chemistry and whatever or with Drake, like none of it's acting.
None of
Like
it's
the
acting.
acting's great.
Yeah.
It's just like you said, how the way it was written didn't fulfill me.
The beats.
Yeah.
Like scene to scene, like you were saying. Very quick scenes in the beginning. You couldn't really find your footing into the tone and the feel of the characters. It was just kind of trying to move 90 miles per hour to get to Venom, but it had 1,000 miles to go.
Yeah.
And it was trying as fast as it could to get there. And unfortunately, that took a little bit away from it.
Not
See-
unfortunately, Ollie, as it turns out.
As it turns out.
Caitlin?
I was gonna say that the first time I watched it, I had a really good time seeing it, and the second time I watched it, I noticed the cracks more, of like things that weren't done very successfully, and
Yeah.
I did notice the 40 minutes, however much time it was that was cut. I noticed that it was cut out and everything, but then I like changed my perspective of watching it to like a younger, newer mindset.
Yeah.
If that makes sense at all.
Quote unquote, maybe their audience.
America's Youth.
Yeah. And once I switched to that kind of gear, this made me think, oh, I wish I now want to read more comic books
Yeah.
because it had
Talk nerdy to me.
because it had both the gruesome where he's like, I eat people's heads, and he's like, no, but don't do that, and he's like, but I do, and that's like, some
hungry.
people
We're gonna have to
eat
do that at some
vegetarian.
point.
Either that or I eat the rest
Most
of your
likely.
organs.
Right.
gonna-
It's like you can choose to be vegetarian, but I'm not. So I eat people sometimes.
Or
And
your
you-
liver.
Yeah, or your liver. So you're gonna let me eat people. So it had the darkness, which that's the kind of the angst side of like, oh, I eat people, but it's fine.
Yeah.
And then Tom Hardy's kind of goofy, and you've got all these funny things that are happening, like the lobster tank and whatnot, and the adventure things where they're like doing the car chase and the drones exploding and making cool blue fire everywhere.
I went, ooh, that's fire is blue.
Right? I know. I know the
That
same
means
thing.
it's hot.
It's so hot. But yeah, it in a way it kind of made me care about the things that I hadn't experienced from the comic books more
Mhm.
because of how it was done. Do I wish it was done better? Do I wish that the 40 minutes were in there and that it was an R-rated horror film? Yes, I
Yeah.
do. But I enjoyed it for what it was, of giving us the goofy, the weird,
It
the
was a
Venom being a
popcorn
loser.
flick.
Yeah.
The thing that I would say is I hear you. And
Okay, all right. I'm
no,
bracing for this.
No, what I'm going to say is I agree.
Oh, okay.
I went and saw it twice and I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it, but it was okay, there were some things.
Yeah, the cracks.
Can I
You
say
saw.
my one last one?
Yeah.
My one last
Fine.
We're
crack.
here for.
Fine, just
My
this
one last
once.
crack, because I had a whole list. I do not think the Dr.
Doc?
Scarth.
Oh,
Skirth died.
Skirth.
Skirth.
I just thought it was a pointless mechanism because the symbiote died too. And it's like, it defeats the purpose that you were trying to take her on. Like you were trying to see if it would do symbiosis or whatever,
Yeah.
achieve symbiosis with her. And then they both die. And I'm like,
What a
now
waste.
you're just trying to make the bad guy look more bad. It's just we talked about it in our Firefly episode where it was just like a shock value.
Yeah.
Where it's just
Yeah.
like this person just died he's a bad guy.
Well,
I
Yeah.
kind
It
of felt
gives
like
him an opportunity to only care about the symbiote's death.
I kind
Yeah.
of chalked it to be like they didn't know what to do else with her character.
Yeah.
Probably.
They were like, well, we have Jenny Slate, so what else can we do? And that's it. And that's literally what happened. They just killed her off.
I honestly think they could have left her alive and it would have been more.
I
interesting.
think they should have
Yeah.
made her a main character.
Yeah.
And there should have been more between her and Eddie, which
Mhm.
could have caused more tension between Eddie and Anne.
Yes.
And then lead it for a sequel to where then she dies and then it means something. And then Anne. Anyways,
And then the mid-credit scene, I love Woody Harrelson, but
Oh my God.
I love
That's
Ronald
my-
McDonald.
That's my last qualm.
I love Woody Harrelson. But
Not as clear as Cassidy.
Why?
but even that, like it just could have done better.
That line killed me. I let out an audible. Ugh.
There's good
Because he's not at that point. He no idea.
No.
He's just Cletus Cassidy. So like, they could have done a whole scene and it would have been great, and everyone would have known who he was and whatever. And they didn't have to.
You didn't need to
shove
say
it down
Carnage.
our fucking throats. We get it.
I actually didn't get it until he said that.
The
so-
only-
But like, why would he say it?
Okay, hold on.
It's too coincidental.
I have this is like fan theory. This is like, why would he say it? How can they make it happen in this context, right? If I can't fix it, you
I
do
don't-
fix it.
I don't want to fix. It's so I hate it. Don't do it in the first place. Is
But
my qualm.
The only way I'd be like, why would they fucking say that? Is that if Venom already had his fucking Carnage symbiote happen and it got to Cletus Cassidy and just has chosen to wait till his father came back, and that's the only thing I can think of like,
He has to already be Carnage.
yes,
But then he wouldn't be stuck in there.
or he's just been waiting for Venom because he knows where Venom is.
Yeah, but the whole point of Carnage is he's not that methodical,
And
that defeats the
but
character
that's a run.
completely.
That's
Yeah.
a run. And that's my only one. Like, why would
In
you
that
say
case,
Carnage?
if that's the run, I'm gonna hate Carnage because it's nothing like he's supposed to be fucking a locomotive, unstoppable locomotive. It just does what he wants.
and then Venom's
No,
also
so you know what's gonna be? It's gonna be a scene where he walks into containment where they're holding like two other symbiotes, and he's gonna see the word Carnage. He's gonna be like, "Oh,
I told you.
I want to cause some carnage," and then he opens that one.
the wig was awful.
I'll
Oh
say
my
like
But
this.
I
God,
also
he's a
think it should be
clown.
Jackie Earl Haley. I don't see Woody
I-
Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy.
I don't even think of like that in terms of casting. I think Woody Harrelson could do it. I don't get the wig because Eddie Brock's not even blonde. So it's like, why? No one even
They're
looks
going
like
natural born
He
killers.
didn't have to.
no one
they're
looks
hoping
like
on
their
that.
comic book lookalike. So
it had
why
to
would
be
you?
red.
He also
It had to
could
be
have
red.
just had regular red hair.
Or if he didn't have hair at all.
Whichever. I'm just saying if you have to go with the red hair, then just
Give him a red shirt.
give
Yeah.
him regular red hair.
I-
Not
Woody
like-
Harrelson famously does not look good in long wigs.
Yeah.
If you've seen Hunger Games, it's awful. The shorter wigs, he's had shorter wigs for other movies like I think 7 Pounds. He has one just regular hair and stuff like that. Like just put him in.
I wouldn't be surprised if that hair is gone.
It was so jarring.
and
Super.
also in
Right?
anger management.
Super
He'll
jarring.
be
How
gone. He'll
curly
be
it
like,
was.
I thought it was a clown wig. I
And-
thought he had like
and
a
also
thing about
in,
clowns.
anger management, Josh.
Yeah.
He's the prostitute.
But yeah, I mean, I don't judge performances too much before I've seen them in a whole movie. Ever since Heath Ledger's Joker, and I was like, he's
Mhm.
gonna suck, and how wrong was I?
Yeah.
But the little bit I got was okay. It just for some reason I'm having trouble having him as Cletus Cassidy.
I will say about that sequence though, I did like, let's just skip the whole serial killer thing. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Because that's all built on the Signs of the Lambs trope, and I'm just like,
That I'm okay with. Yeah.
well, they don't. Most people don't do it right.
Hmm.
It's how you do that trope
Yeah.
that makes it work, and they just skipped it. I was like, thank God.
I'm good. I feel complete. I do want to say that Into the Spider-Verse looks like it's gonna be the tits. I've been excited
That
for
I'm
it since the
excited
first
for, yeah.
trailer, and I am so.
It looks really.
Happy for
I like
this.
that they have different animation styles for
too.
different universes too.
It looks beautiful.
We're about to
Yeah.
rate.
Very pretty.
Yeah.
So with me having 2 and Corey having 2,
Oh, we're
and who
last.
else had 1?
I think I had one maybe.
So
I had one.
Did I?
Josh had one.
Caitlin
Oh, no.
and Josh.
Ollie.
Did I?
No.
No, it's
No.
these 2.
You didn't have one. Josh had one, and
Oh.
then
So I'm just
Tom
saying
and
you
Corey
guys
did.
got to start.
oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Mine is a 4.7.
4.7.
Nice.
Just dip.
3.9.
All right.
And I want to say, just as a quick kind of like wrap up for my thing, where it's like, I really think this movie had or has still a lot of potential for future movies, because I think Tom Hardy did a phenomenal job, and I hope is he interested in doing more? Is he confirmed?
Yeah,
he
of
signed
course.
on for 3 pictures.
Perfect.
Oh,
He
wow.
did this
So-
for his son too.
I want to see
Oh.
that happen. I'm gonna see it day one. I think
We're gonna
Venom.
talk about it here.
Venom. We're gonna talk about it right here. I think Venom looked incredible. The action sequences looked pretty good for the most part. I didn't like too much of the CGI fest. I actually lost track. I think I just need glasses or something. But I lost track of Venom at a certain point. And I'm like, wait, what
Yeah.
happened? Where did Venom go? And it was just like just Riot left. And I was like, wait, what? So I got lost in that a little bit. But that's just par for the course of big CGI, AAA, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it was just those qualms, and it being, just feeling like it was a rushed plot or whatever, took it down for me.
Josh.
Wait, what did you say it was?
3.9.
3.9.
Nine.
That's right.
I just wanted to also summarize.
Yeah.
And I have my number written down. Is it allowed to change based on the discussion?
Just say your first number, then say your second number.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
at the
you
end
The
of it,
first
both.
number that I
What
wrote
was it?
down
Yeah.
was a 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
But
Based on this conversation, I will say a 3. No, just kidding. 3.5.
3.5.
3.5.
Okay.
Okay.
A little bit of a little
change.
change.
I like it.
Rochambeau.
Yeah. Here we go. Just one, right?
Okay.
Row.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
yeah.
On 3. 1, 2, 3. So you go first.
3.
3.
3 solid.
Wow.
Me is 3.
Yeah.
I'm 3 too.
Oh, really?
Oh
Me
my
three. Me
god.
three.
So we're the grumps?
We're the Grumps.
Oh.
Mine was a solid 3. It was going to be a solid 3 from the entire beginning.
Yeah. Same.
Because it's not
Wow.
4 where it's masterclass, but it's also not like high enough where it's like, yeah, but it's good enough for me to like watch it again. And
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 I
pop
thought a
it,
lot
yeah.
about this because I gave Tomb Raider a 4.
I gave Tomb Raider like a 3.7.
Yeah. And I compared it to that. And I remember just enjoying that movie like straight through. And I
Mhm.
know there were parts I'd change, obviously, because I gave it a 4. But I didn't have whole chunks that I was just like, take that out
Mhm.
and let's do this and move this around.
Hmm.
I compared this to Justice League.
Okay.
And comparatively to Justice League, where I actually got sequences with characters that actually were lasted more than 3 minutes and actually could develop relationships between Bruce and Diana, worked far better. Or with Flash and Cyborg, worked far better than like any scene
Mhm.
of character development with Eddie and anyone that wasn't Venom.
Hmm.
And that was a big issue for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, what I'll say is, you might have noticed that I can be very easy to please.
I don't know,
Depends on what
man.
it is. Depends on what it is.
I was actually very hurt when you said 3.9 because when we came out of the movie and I looked at Ollie and Josh and I was like, what do you guys think? And Ollie goes, I like the movie. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I did.
oh,
Yeah.
a friend.
And I went,
I know. And I was like,
And the reason I mention this is
Josh.
because my score would have been lower, but there were enough things that I really liked about
I
it
want to see more of.
that I want to see more of.
That outweigh a lot
brought-
of the plot.
That outweigh some of that. Forgave a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Same easy. It was going to be lower, and then there were just certain scenes that I was like, and sequences, and Tom Hardy really carried.
I was like,
the
this
film.
can be if like we get a sophomore, run at this same director, maybe change up the screenplay a little bit.
I got it like this in one sentence.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
We can all agree, just like in our Spider-Man episode, which you pause now, listen to it. It's still better than Spider-Man 3.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know about
Get out.
Although they
that?
managed to have
I-
the Spider-Man symbiote happen though in 3.
I always feel like I have to explain why my numbers are always so high.
Well,
and,
I mean,
and this one specifically, moreover,
Tom Hardy.
because, well,
kidding.
to a degree,
Kidding.
but if I were to look at it even more critically, I'd probably put it at like a 3.7. But because after watching it twice, I came out of this being entertained both times and having it make me more interested in comic books and the character behind
You're
what I was
invested.
looking at.
Yeah.
I was invested.
You're invested now into this
I'm
universe.
invested
Great way to put it.
further into the universe.
Yeah.
So I feel like the flaws, I was actually at the very beginning being like, 4.8. No, 4.7. There were cracks. And if I took away my excitement about things a little more, then yeah, it would probably be in the 3 zone. But
my way, I'm like, I was always been invested. It's kind of like I finally go on this date with somebody I've been wanting to go on a date on, and the first date wasn't great.
Yeah.
But I'm still super
I'm still
invested.
going to see the second.
And I
still
want to
going
go
to
on a second date.
Yeah.
That's how
that's
I feel.
fair. That's fair. That's
my
fair.
my wife and I walked out and like it was a popcorn flick. And are we going to see the second one? Yep. For sure.
Yeah.
Tom
Really?
Hardy.
See it twice?
Tom Hardy sold me.
Definitely.
He was the perfect casting for this for me.
Do I
Nailed
want those 40 minutes so that I can stare at him more?
Unrated version.
And also that, I mean, yes, I do.
I have only one thing to gush about.
Oh,
Please.
It's the end of the fight, or it's the end fight. I just love when Venom says, "He has shit you've never seen,"
Yeah.
and then he gets like hit with
The
it. And I
blades
think
and stuff.
Eddie
Told you.
Brock is like, "Holy shit!" And he's like, "Told you."
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
It was amazing.
yeah.
That them like intertwining and seeing Drake and Brock in the
Yeah.
middle of them, and then like I don't know. I thought that looked
It's
Yeah.
like a weird
It's a
dancing
great idea.
pool.
Yeah.
well, they do that a lot in the comic books. There's
Yeah.
a part where like Venom is split between 2 of his former hosts, Eddie and Flash, and they have this giant thing where it's like, macabre and monstrous, where it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And you actually see it's like a visual representation of the conflict.
Hmm.
So it's super cool.
this
Wow.
where he reaches for it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that.
Oh, yeah.
Just that little like,
Mhm.
and then he's back on as Venom. That was a great little bit.
More of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, more of those.
Please.
Less.
Please.
I don't need.
In all honesty, it's one of those like Transformers. Like I don't want to see humans anymore. I just want to see the Transformers and what they do.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
make them more clear.
More lobster tank moments, more chocolate and tater tots,
Yeah.
more Venom talking to him and him going, ha!
Just more. I wanted more Eddie Brock and Venom and less of all the other shit.
Yeah.
Like that would have made me happier. Anyway, I feel complete.
Yeah, I'm feeling
feel
complete
complete.
about this.
I completed.
Yeah.
Oh, every time.
Always, every time.
Thank y'all for listening.
Thank you so much for this. It's a good discussion.
Yeah.
This is fun.
This-
I'm
just
proud
thank
of
you for-
you all.
Aw.
Thank you for this
You guys.
symbiosis.
Mm.
And enjoy it with your symbiote meal.
We are nerd on.
Okay, Tom.
Symbiotes brought to you by Sony.
Let us know what you think of Venom. Hit us up on the socials.
On the
If
social.
you're a Patreon member, then you can hit up that Discord server.
And chat with
Continue
us
the
about
conversation
it.
there.
More importantly, slip and slide in them DMs.
It's not more important. I mean, it's about
It's
as
more important
equal.
to Tom, so
It's
let him
more-
have
More
it.
yeah.
important to Tom.
Yes. Give that to him.
We do want to hear from you.
I wanna
we
hear you
we
slide
love
them.
comments. We love messages. We love reviews. That gives us feedback into if we're doing a good job or if we're doing a shit job. We'd like to hear that too,
Yeah.
so that we can improve more and more every time.
Yes. You can head on over to our website, nerdon.tv. Has all the linky links and the stuffy stuffs. And but you know the drill. As always.
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.